I've been a Republican for 41 years. Think about that. 41 years. Some people that are listening to this aren't even 41 years old. I've been dedicated to conservative values, Christian values, American values my whole entire life.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side.
It's orange cinnamon, so it's delicious.
Nice.
And it works with the holidays. Listen to me.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, Sunday night, I know this is last minute. We have the election coming up in about, 10 days?
Oh, yeah, we're down to about that.
Yeah.
I think.
It has been listen, I'm not an old guy, and I'm not saying you're an old guy, but I'm not an old guy, and I have paid attention to fewer local elections than I should have, no matter how old I am.
Mhm.
But I can tell you this one has gotten really wonky, especially considering it's like you're dealing with not a huge town. It's not like you guys are running for the mayoralship of Boise or something, or like New York. I mean,
Right.
this is Eagle, and things have gotten very heated, it seems, on both sides. Talk to me about what's going on with your campaign. Talk to me about what you feel has changed since the initial vote and you came into the runoff, all of that.
Well, first of all, day one started off with the anticipation that I'd made a decision to run, and it was basically for the catalyst of public safety. I think it needed to be brought up to a level that I deemed in a profession necessary to prevent and be proactive with deterrent for criminals coming into the city of Eagle. We're at 37,109 citizens now with the addition to the annexation of Avamore. And I think I alluded to this before, but I see Avamore as the unexpected child coming into the family. They're here now. You love them, you nurture them, you take care of them. They're one of your own, and you just move on with your family. You have to do additions, budget differences. You have to make accommodations for the new child, but they're still part of you. So Avamore is part of Eagle now. There's been questions about, can it be de-annexed? That's a whole litigation thing. I don't even want to discuss that. But from day one, with my campaign, I brought on a team that I felt could help do all the detail work that was needed and get some experts involved, and also some people that just had a passion to get behind a cause. And the cause being me, of course. But I think I told you this last time we had our first podcast, that I was not anticipating to run for any office. I thought, let's do my 4 years and turn 65 and just retire and move on and do other things, volunteer stuff, because, I've been serving the public my whole life. And that wasn't the calling that I felt I needed to do. I had a lot of talk, a lot of conversations with people, and we have progressed to this day, which is now a runoff. Jason did get the most votes, and I applaud him for that. But you need 50% plus one, and we were the top two vote getters out of four candidates running, and so here we are. I mean, it's I kind of see this as a whirlwind myself. This is a unique campaign. There's been a lot of interesting things that have happened within this campaign that did not take place 4 years ago. It certainly did not take place on the other elections that I've been involved with. And mainly it's social media. And social media has taken on a component of, it has its value, but it also has its problems. And I think a lot of people like to get on social media and convey their expertise out there, and they know something more than the person they're debating with, if you will. And that's just not the facts, and that's just it's disheartening to me that we are at this point, because I was really anticipating a strong political opportunity, I guess is the right word, to get my message out, and the reason I was running. But things have just kind of taken an exhaustive turn for me and my family, and so I just would like to be able to come tonight and maybe answer a few questions that are out there in the public's setting, and well, we'll see if we can answer it for them.
Great. Great. And thank you. Look, as I'm not even a resident of Eagle. I'm, unincorporated Ada County,
Right.
but even watching it, it's kind of mind boggling, all the things happening. One interesting thing that I have seen happen is obviously Idaho's a very conservative area. I think I've heard the statistic that Democrats really only make up like 15 or 16% of the voting base.
Yeah.
So you primarily have, not unincorporated, but unaffiliated, and then Republicans, right? That's the huge voting block, right? And I'm pretty confident that a lot of the unaffiliated, they lean conservative. We're the middle of Idaho, right? But it seems that in the absence of the capacity to just say, well, this guy's a registered Democrat and this guy's a registered Republican, and kind of run off of those premises, which a lot of places do, because we're so overwhelmingly conservative. You have Republicans going after registered Republicans, and the fight becomes trying to prove that the other person is this sleeping liberal, or like this sneaky lib, or who they're selling out to, what kind of socialist tendencies they have, all of these different things. Do you think that it is the right thing to do for people to point the finger at others and try to make it a race towards who can prove who is, the sneaky liberal?
And I think that's the detriment of this whole campaign in a whole. Idaho is a conservative republic state. We want it to stay that way. And here's the interesting fact, Matt, that most people don't know. I've been a Republican for 41 years. Think about that, 41 years. Some people that are listening to this aren't even 41 years old. I've been dedicated to conservative values, Christian values, American values my whole entire life. I've served the public with honor. I've made sure that the public's wants and needs come first, paramount before my own. And the fact that we have this divisive attitude in the Republican Party itself, I think that's needs to be a wake-up call for the whole state. I think we need to eliminate the divisiveness and figure out how to find common ground. And when you're running for an elected position in a city, it's not the word is not bias. It's nonpartisan.
Yeah,
That's my mind's mush, and I apologize. But
it's Sunday night, man. I appreciate it.
But it's a nonpartisan position. I think people are forgetting that component. It doesn't mean that Brad Pike loses his Republican Christian conservative values. What it means is I'm receptive to listening to every citizen within the city. And that's important, especially because they live here for one, and they pay taxes for two. So they have just as much right to come and ask the questions, give an opinion than anybody else does. It doesn't mean my conservative values change, though. My leadership skills don't change. I've been accused of getting dementia right now, and I've been accused of losing my faith, and I've been accused of being a liberal. I've been accused of being a Democratic plant from California.
That's my favorite, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
This podcast is brought to you by Legacy Life Memories, the premier video autobiographical production company for you and your aging loved ones. Legacy Life Memories helps preserve memories of a lifetime in high-quality video that can be shared with every generation to come. Visit LegacyLifeMemories.com and find out how they can help your family today.
Try being a Republican council member in a Democratic city in a state of California. Try pulling that one off. I did, and I was successful at that. Try having people that you invested all of your volunteer time and your leadership time into making that community better, and to have people come back and slander you and say that you put that city in a deficit and you were anything but conservative in those riots. I think I talked about this before, and I'm going to rant a little bit, but We had the city of Hollister had a moratorium, a building moratorium put on it by the state back in 2002. I
Mm.
was elected in 2004. So we were the recipients of trying to put together a new water sewer treatment plant on the backs of a bond that was like a $120 million bond back in 2000. And I think it started in 2003. But the moratorium started in 2002, and that was a 2% cap on growth. So when you're an island city 14 miles away for the next closest city, you have to be very frugal with your budgeting. You have to be very creative with how you bring tax dollars in. We tried every single thing we could think of, and the only option we had was a 1% sales tax increase from 7.25 to 8.25%. That would mean anybody that comes in and does any shopping, any purchases whatsoever, they would be part of that tax increase for the revenue. And that was only a 5-year fixed set time to put this 1% sales tax. And once the economy got better, but as we all know, in 2008, the economy tanked. So I was the mayor from 2006 to 2007. My last year was back as a council member. But the claims of that I put the city in a $3 million deficit per year is erroneous, and it's just not factually true. And we have articles. I had to go search the archives to find articles, and I've got some printed out right here in case we needed some factual support based on that. But also, I would always encourage anybody that put this out there to go call any citizen that knew me from the city of Hollister during that time and what I did for the city. And actually, the highway project we talked about before, but I did a lot for that community, and to be accused of doing something negative for that community, it really hurts. And I'm a sensitive guy to begin with, and I'm a very passionate guy. So I'm very disappointed in what the local people on social media have been saying, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to come tonight, to clear the air and get the facts out prior to anybody deciding. There's been absentee voting already going on, but tomorrow starts early voting, and then December 5th obviously is the voting day.
Yeah, and again, just a couple things. When I said my favorite criticism of you is that you're a liberal plant just because you came from California, I think that's so silly for people to say. Now, you may be, but it's not because you came from California, right? Like, Jason also grew up in California for a period of time, and neither of you are plants. This is, again, another one of those really slippery things that it's like, okay, how do you even address this? Like, how do you address somebody saying, well, you're a liberal plant from California? It's a criticism that's impossible to actually get a hold of. So you can't really do anything with it. You're like, okay, well, what can I say? Like, I've been a registered Republican for 41 years. Like, I have conservative anyway.
Yeah, you have to argue the point each and every step of the way, and it really gets you nowhere. But my biggest thing is I like to have one-on-one discussions with people, and I said let's sit down and let's hash out the problem.
Right.
Problem solver, been that way my whole life as well. And for the erroneous statements to be made, it's really hard for me to sit there and just let it be pounded at me.
Right. And again, I get it.
Yeah.
That is a question that somebody asked me. They said, look, if you do talk to Brad, ask him what current voters should glean from his experience or leadership in Hollister, right? So what would you want people to see that you were proud of in the city of Hollister as your time as mayor there?
Right. Well, the mayorship was 1 year, but the biggest thing I can say is get to know the community, get to know the people, be willing to have one-on-one conversations with them, be willing to have group session meetings with them, be innovative, listen to somebody's ideas. And there's another comment out there that somebody twisted, and I want to get this clear up to as well. But when I say I want to be the stupidest man in the room, that means I want to surround myself with more intelligence than I have right now. And, I'm a college graduate. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, though. That's what I'm saying. I want to glean information, and professional people come and give us information to make us as a team and a community stronger. So that's exactly what I did in the city of Hollister. I started off with a grassroots campaign to fix a highway. I had no clue what I was going to do. I just started I went to a store, like I said before, and set up a table, said, hey, can I do this, the store manager, can I take signatures from people? Sure, this is great. Let's do this. And so it took an 8-week campaign to get those 23,000 signatures and take them to the state, and there was a lot of people. All of a sudden, they were your best friends. Everybody, all the elected officials wanted to be part of this or the people running for office. I had people running for state senate and assembly members coming and wanting to be part of something because it was a success. And so I just happened to be the champion of it. It was not that I did it all by myself. There's no way. So you bring in all the intelligence that's behind it, all the planning and zoning, and all the this California Highway Patrol, the Caltrans, which is the Idaho transportation, similar to that from California. You bring in these people, and you bring in been there, done that type mentality. So you don't really have to reinvent the rock or the reinvent the wheel, and that makes it where it's more enjoyable as well. So it takes a little bit of pressure off. But when you get a group of people that are wanting to support and do something, and then they elect you to office because they like the leadership style you had. And it's just go out there and get stuff done. I mean, people want to see productivity when they want to know their tax dollars are being utilized properly. But when you have a downturn in an economy, you got to remember that. And that's exactly what I've gleaned off that experience and then bringing to the city of Eagle. If we do have another COVID issue, if we do have another economic downturn, I've been there, done that. I know what it takes to get us through those hard times. We did a good job on COVID, and I'll give credit to Jason as well for his leadership during that time, because none of us knew what COVID was going to present to us, and we were dealing with a lot of new things. The water issue with the sale of the water, if we were going to buy it or not, and we had some land acquisitions and trades and not trades, but repurchasing different places and things going on, and we had merchants downtown really needing our help, and we couldn't financially help them, but we can verbally get out there and promote their businesses, and that's what we were trying to do. And that's why I was trying to establish a downtown association, which I was not in charge of, by the way. That's another false accusation that was put out there. I was the liaison to the downtown advisory committee, that the director of our economic development department, she was facilitating that, and I was participating, and I really wanted to see that through. And she left the city for unknown reasons and took her assistant with her, and so that whole entire program fell apart. Well, I wasn't the one responsible or able to do the expertise of that, so it just kind of dissolved on its own. But that's a whole other issue we could talk about with who's responsible for agencies, who's responsible for commissions and stuff. And I could tell you, it's not the city council member.
Gotcha. Let's talk about a couple key issues. I have heard, I haven't spoken with you directly, which is why we're here. I have heard conversations and rumblings about how you have had somewhat of a change in heart with regard to the senior center.
Mm-hmm.
Explain this to me, because when we first talked, and again, you had the information you had then.
Mm-hmm.
When we first talked, you were saying that you felt it was the right thing to do, and that, that was essentially it. You felt it was the right thing to do. But I have heard people saying different things and attributing different ideas to you now. Talk to me about that.
Sure. When the more information you get on something, the better you're going to be able to make a decision on. I'm still adamant about the funding element to it. That position hasn't changed. Back when we were discussing this back in September, I think, is when we had our last podcast. We were talking. I was told that we had won, and I think I got back to you and saying, when I was told that we had won, what they were meaning is we had won to take it to court.
Yes.
And because I told our person, congratulations, I'm glad you won this thing. And then I said, wait a minute, that's not accurate. So I got back to you and said, okay, that was a misinterpretation.
Yes, and again, I did put that disclaimer up in the description, that
and
you
I appreciate
did get back.
that.
Absolutely.
So, but here's the deal with the seniors. I think my whole stance on how I approach things is to find out all the facts and then try to get through all of that minutia and everything, and then come to a solution. And the opportunity for that is not what I would do to begin with. I would have had more of a conversation. Hey, what happened? Because we were trying to get what happened the whole time as to where the funding was coming from. And then they got into litigation, and that's why I'm saying we're still dealing with that a little bit. So I can't get too far into it. But what I'd like to do is bring harmony and community back as a whole, and see if we can't find a new solution to a problem. I think the seniors just want to come home, and so that's the biggest thing that I'm hearing. And so,
Now, when you say this, the seniors, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, it's
again,
all
this
right.
is a kind of a complex issue.
Yeah,
There is a physical senior center building,
correct,
right? And there's a senior center organization. The
correct.
senior center organization is the thing that was removed from the building. The building itself, people have said that it was only closed for a day. I've heard from other people that it got closed down temporarily to renovate. I've heard a myriad of different
Yeah.
things. But the senior center building itself was essentially taken over and by the city, saying, "Hey, look, we, the city of Eagle, are going to start running the senior, activities at
Right.
the senior center."
Right.
The senior organization that
The nonprofit.
yeah, the nonprofit,
right.
the one that Stan Ridgway was working with, and I think still currently is, they moved to a different location, but they weren't happy about it. They weren't like, "Oh, this new place suits us just fine." So when you say bring the seniors want to come home, which seniors are you talking about?
And I'm glad you're asking that question that way, because they want to be harmonious with all of the seniors that are participating in this whole group. They've been fragmented. Some want to stay in the familiar building that they are used to,
Right.
and some moved on with the nonprofit over to the church, Methodist church. And so the point right now, in my opinion, is, can we bring resolution to this in a fashion that all parties win? Okay, and that's where I'm at with this whole thing. And so the information I've been obtaining the last couple of months has got it down to, and that's why I can't get too detailed in the
Sure.
litigation side. But there's a lot of information out there that was not privileged. I wasn't privileged to in the past, as far as ownership of the building, the who built it, what civilians were involved with it, and all the details. And I'm still getting educated to that. So the only reason I voted for this, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, is because when you give taxpayers' dollars to a nonprofit, you open Pandora's box that you will be obligated to give every other nonprofit funding, because they're going to come to you, Boy Scouts of America, any other group that you can think of, and say, "Wait a minute, you just gave over $100,000 to this nonprofit. We would like the same, given to us." And so that has an issue with it there. But I think the lack of communication, I think there's more consensus there than people really think that's going on. There is a divide going on. So when I say bring the seniors back home, I mean the whole group back into the same establishment that they've come to learn and love, and not have to half of them go in one location, half of them go in another. So after the litigation's over, then if I think there's room for a harmonious resolve to this. I really do.
Gotcha. So essentially, look, ownership, organizations, blah, they're all designed to serve the senior community. And you want to figure out a way to bring the senior community back together instead of having fragmented,
Absolutely.
different
And I don't even know the details of it. And like, just because, and here's another thing that's out there, just because you become the mayor of a city doesn't mean that you run every single show. You have to get council approval. You have to make we've had, they have to get the staff that's already working with the half of the citizens now. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to have to bring people back, and we're going to have to come up with the solution that's completely different than what we're at today. We're at a divide today. All I'm saying, let's bring us all back together and find a solution that works for everybody. And I think that's just a good way of leadership.
Okay, here's a really direct question for you. There's been a lot of money flying around in this election. We're not a huge place, right? We're not a huge city, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars combined amongst all of the candidates for all of the different things. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I wish that we didn't put in over half of my contributions. My wife and I personally, we're trying to get the loan back. Um, that we've contributed over half of the campaign funds have come out of my pocket, my own pocket. The rest of them have been contributions from individual citizens. We have not taken a dime from any developer, builder, subcontractor, anybody affiliated with those. We've had people that have wanted to give money and they've started to give money, and we had to turn them down. Um, my treasurer has done a great job on making sure the Sunshine Report is up to speed and consistent the whole time, and we're making sure that we're getting our bills paid accordingly as they come in to get that taken care of. But yeah, my wife and I went into debt for this campaign, and we're just hoping and praying that enough funds come back to pay off the loan back to us. And we've made a commitment, though, to the public that we will not take any funds from developers, because I want it to be the grassroots feel. I want it to be the citizens giving money to us, and we haven't been able to have as many signs out there as that our um, opposition has right now, and we haven't been able to get as the social media out there as much because we just don't have the funds for it. And even though I'm personally going into debt, I definitely don't want to have anybody forcefully having to give money out of sympathy that, oh, we need to get more signs, we need to do more of this, we need to do more of that. So we're relying on our Facebook and our website as that's our platform. That's where our campaign is being driven from. I cannot control social media, and nor do I want to. And quite frankly, my wife and I are not allowed on social media right now. Outside of everything that comes out to my Facebook or to my website, I have conversations with my campaign manager first, and we go over stuff, and then it gets put out into the public setting. So, but the contributions wise, the funding, like I said, I wish I had more money, but we don't, and I'm proud to say that we've taken it from the perspective we have.
Two things. First, why did you not want to take any money from builders? Right? Because we have plenty of builders that are Eagle citizens, right? That are Eagle residents. Why should they be unable to financially support you?
Well, I just think it puts a assumptive thought into the public that you are being puppeteered by development, and you're being backed by your decisions that you make for the public are backed by a developer or somebody. And I just don't think we need to be there. I think it's okay. The citizens are the ones that we are representing, are supposed to represent. And if they're the ones backing us financially, that proves that their candidate that's who they want to have in office. So as much as we need development, we all live in houses. We all have we want businesses to thrive. We want a good economy, and it's all on the backbone of developers. But for a campaign, especially for one in a city, I don't think it's needed. And like I said, I'm funding the majority of my campaign myself, and that's okay because nobody else put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, go run for office." I mean, I did it on my own fruition and my own desires and my own motivations. So it's on me. And I'm very thankful for the citizens that have reached out and donated, and not only their money, but their volunteerism and their time and commitment to get out and walk the neighborhoods for me and campaign with me. And it's a real good grassroots team concept, and I'm very proud and happy about that.
Why are you funding this yourself? Like, why do that? Right? This is not a job where it's like an investment, right? Like, put $100,000 in this is not like going to return something. Why do that?
And I'll reiterate it again, but it's just because I feel this is a calling. Nobody put this on me. Why do I need to have, if somebody wants to support me and fund me, then that's fine from a citizen's perspective. But I really want it to be this hometown grassroots movement that people want to elect Brad Pike because they are committed to it, and they feel they've contributed, they feel part of this. It's easy to have a company, a corporation, a builder, whatever, writing $1,000 check. I mean, they're very successful. $1,000 may not mean that much to them, but some lady that gives me $50, and that's really probably taking it out of her fixed income. And that's been a number of people that have done that because I've talked to them at their doors. And that's humbling to me, and it's very rewarding to me that people would have that much confidence in an individual that they will be willing to dip into maybe their funds that they didn't budget well for. But I'm very appreciative of that, and that's going to go a long ways with me making good decisions for those people.
I appreciate that. Let's hit another big one. Okay, now one of the biggest concerns and issues I think that you and Jason go back and forth with is law enforcement. Okay, there are a lot of people that say we're good on law enforcement. Okay, why are they wrong?
I don't share that value or that opinion whatsoever, and that's where my passion starts coming into play. When you want to, one of the main obligations of leadership is to protect your community. And that has to be paramount. It has to be one of the cornerstones, which is in my campaign as well, to making sure that we do not have the crime out of control someday. Because as we grow, there are bad people out there. There's evil out there, and that's why you want to have protection. And when you are one of the lowest percentage-wise cities per capita in the whole state, as far as your law enforcement, that's not servicing the public to the level I think we need to be doing so. I think I told you before, the stats for 2022 was 621 crimes. Those were felonies. Those weren't just misdemeanors or just a call. And you will hear my opposition say that the police only run 6 calls a day. You have no idea when an event happens, the number of officers it's needed to make that scene safe, and then also the protracted event that takes place afterwards when you have to go back and do reports, and you have to make sure you're ready for court, and you have to make sure the district attorney has all the right wording, and your commander has make sure you've written this thing correctly. That takes time, and for every deputy or every police officer. And like I said before, I've spoken with every police chief within this valley. Almost, I'll say, Nampa I have not, Caldwell I have not. But in this area, I have, and also a few of the mayors. I won't say all of the mayors because I haven't talked to all the mayors. But the thing is they are all competing. They are all deficient on their number of officers. Boise in itself is 40 officers down. An incorporated versus unincorporated, we've talked about that before. We only have 25 people for 37,000 people, 25 deputies, including the police chief. And I think the Sheriff Clifford has shared this stats with you before as well. And I think once you've incorporated in the city limits, that you should be responsible for that. Your police department, which is a contract with the Sheriff's Department, is responsible to service the people within that city limits. And so 25 is not the right amount for any, and you have to look at officer safety. You have to know how many people, how many officers are in the whole city itself. You have almost 60 square miles now. I could tell you next door at Garden City, I've said this before, but they have a $6.2 million budget for their police department for 4.2 square miles. And their demographics are maybe a little different, but for the crime that's coming through, we're a transient community here, which means traffic comes through back and forth all day long. And I think that they are doing their jobs. The deputies are doing Title 31 because they are sworn deputies, Ada County Sheriff deputies that are in the contract within the city limits in an incorporated city. And so my philosophy is different. And if it wasn't, it's in harmony with the sheriff. It's in harmony with the police chiefs. And if that wasn't the case, why is every other city not doing the same exact thing that this current mayor is advocating, that we have unincorporated deputies come in and augment our staffing? We do 3,300 calls last year, went out of our jurisdiction to help others in a called mutual aid event. We had 21,000 total service calls last year. 21,000 for when you have two people on duty right now. And I've advocated for this in other cities too. This isn't just Eagle right now. Started a good job of finding funding and allocating up to, they have 17 deputies now for 17,000 people. We'll never get to 37 deputies. We have 25 and we have 37,000. We're not going to get to that. I'm trying to get us to the 1 per thousand we've talked about before. And the new statistics are so outdated. 1.87 deputies per thousand is the new national norm. And for cities our size, 2.37 deputies per thousand. We'll never get it. We're not even close. And so this isn't fear mongering. This isn't saying the sky is falling. This is trying to be proactive, get ahead of it so we can be as a deterrent for people coming in. We've had serious crimes here just in this year alone. And when you have one event, it takes up our whole force to take care of that one event. Who's taking care of the rest of the city? So my thing is, let's get the stats up at least to an appropriate level. So if one half of the city is taking up all the deputies, at least the other half has some deputies to use. And you cannot rely on mutual aid. What it means, if they say, well, I've heard the term, the cavalry comes when there's an emergency. Well, I've worked in the fire service. Yes, we go, it's called, like I said, mutual aid. You'll have additional units coming to take care of the emergency. Once that's over, those emergency mutual aid units go back to their community. But if they're not able to come and do that mutual aid response because they're taking care of their own calls, what happens here? We are deficient. That's all I'm saying. We have to find a solution to this problem because someday it will be the 50,000 people. We still have almost 40 projects on the flats here, if you will, that Valnova hasn't even been built yet. And Avamore, we just took in 1,300 people with the annexation. And so that's where we got up to the 37,109 citizens. We just need to be proactive with it. I have a plan, and people are saying, well, you say you have a plan, but you haven't explained the plan. Well, I've explained it a couple of times, but I also don't want to give away information to my opposition that is also going to have to come up with a solution as well. And so I do think there's a deficiency here. I'm going to stay passionate about it because I think public safety, then your economy is your second cornerstone. But I really am adamant about this, that I am a professional public servant. I know what I'm talking about, and I've got the facts from the people themselves. I'm not making this stuff up on social media. I go and get the facts. They tell it to me. I come back and I present it to the public. If they don't like that, that's not my fault. Okay, but the facts are the facts. And I'm telling you, when these things are presented to the public in certain settings, all the facts have not been given out.
Gotcha. I like more officers. I think everybody does. I mean, we could do 1 for 1. That would be great too. But
let's be realistic about it though,
yeah,
right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
obviously
yeah, I
I'm
know.
just joking,
I
but
know.
the point is that the question is, how do we pay for that? Right. Because that's what
Right.
it seems. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, Brad will just increase everybody's taxes. And I've heard you say, you in fact told me in the interview, our original interview, you would never increase taxes to pay for a city service.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you don't want to increase taxes, but how do we pay for it?
Because the general fund, you can reallocate, the council can reallocate funds to any line item they choose that's appropriate. Okay. You don't, if you go into, we don't go into deficit spending because we have zero-based budgeting here. So if you take whatever you take in, your revenues, you spend, and that's just the way it is. But so you have to reallocate funds, and you have to find other solutions for these funding elements to come into play. There are things that other communities are using. They're called mitigation fees, where impact fees pay for capital, mitigation fees pay for employees. And so that's an option there. I've already disclosed this once before. We get $655,000 a year on liquor tax back from the state. We can dip into some of that for utilization and reallocate those tax dollars into public safety. Law enforcement is the one.
Where are those tax dollars going right now?
They go into the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and
So it's not necessarily a zero-sum game. Like there's money in the general fund that you could literally just tap into without taking away from another
yeah,
service?
you don't get a special pot of money coming from the tax. All of these taxes come into your revenue base.
No,
Yeah.
what I mean, what I'm saying is, okay, let's say let's say you, Mayor Brad, right? You're like, all right, we're going to commit $1 million to add, I don't know, 2, 3. I don't know how many more people per year. And you're saying we can take that out of the general fund. Okay, understood on that. Is that $1 million not do we have an excess of $1 million sitting somewhere, or do we have to take that money away from a different project or different department?
And that's that. Well, the project you're hitting on the nail on the head right now, because we have capital improvement projects, right? We have capital projects out there. Some of them we've gone through a list. The city council, we all worked with staff to get the list together of our priorities for every 5 years of what capital projects we want to have done. My opinion is we can take away some of those projects, or we can take a percentage away from those projects. And if you took, say we have the $11 million for all of our capital projects. So if you take away a percentage of that and reallocate that, and so you're only given 90% to each project, you can find funds. You just reallocate the funding. So what I'm talking about with this, with the taxes, I'm not a CPA or anything like that, but I'm just looking at it from general budgeting. And if you put the money where you think you deem is right, that's what the council needs to do when they're budgeting. The department heads come, they give us our presentation for budgets in the budget hearings, and we vote those in. The last 2 budgets, like I said before, I voted no on because we didn't even discuss. And they'll say, well, Brad, you had the opportunity to bring this to the budget. I've said that in every budget. It's on video that I've said, Sheriff Clifford, I'm advocating for 2 new deputies for you. I mean, and we took on 2 new deputies for the SET team, a special enforcement team, 2 years ago. 2 years ago now. And we need to keep proactively pushing to increase these officers every year. But there's got to be a plan put out there. And there has, for the last 4 years, there has not been a plan for public safety increase. There just hasn't. And so at least I'm coming up with a plan, and I'm trying to find a way to bring a proposal back to the council that they can get behind and support and say, yes, this makes sense. And yes, the community does deserve this higher level of service, but we're not even giving additional. I mean, we're not increasing the staff. We're still deficient. So we're trying just to catch up. So you have to reallocate funds to where you think the priorities are. And so my proposals, if elected, would be to the council. This is where the funds can come from, and this is how we can reallocate with no additional taxes. I mean, we still get the same revenue coming in. It's just where you appropriate your tax dollars to. And my concern and one of my priorities is public safety. So I'm absolutely going to propose these differences and these reallocations, if you will, to that.
Gotcha. Another one. So much has been made about the growth and development of Eagle. Mm-hmm. There's no way to avoid it. Mm-hmm. And everyone is pointing the finger at the other guy, saying he wants high-rise buildings. Mm-hmm. He wants to turn this into some megatropolis, and everybody's saying it about everyone. What is your vision for managing the growth of Eagle, and how do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, we only took in 231 permits last year, and we anticipated 350. This is just building permits, just for residential or whatever. So we already missed the mark on our estimated budget that we were looking for. So we are not in a deficit, but when you don't get those revenues in, you have to come take it out of reserves. And I'll allude back to the $506,000 that we had to take out of emergency reserves to pay for the status quo of the sheriff's contract from last year to this year. Not one deputy came in new, but we had $500,000 we had to pay for just the cost of doing business with the contract. And people say, well, why don't you just put your own police department together? Do you know the astronomical amount of money? I just told you, Garden City, $6.2 million for we're at $4.5 million for our contract for 60 square miles. Can you imagine what it's going to be? It's probably going to be hitting $9 or $10 million if we had put our own staff together with all the details, the public, the vehicles,
the housing,
comp
the
plan, everything, all the stuff, all the things together.
And that sentiment was shared by Sheriff Clifford in an interview that I did with him before I ever chatted with you. That he was just saying, look, Ada County essentially runs at a loss by fighting this department in a box.
And remember, I've been having conversations with the police chief, and when Matt Clifford was the police chief, and also when he became sheriff, I've been having these conversations with the sheriff for 4 years. I mean, this isn't something new. This isn't an 11th hour campaign ploy. This is something I've been passionate about. But let's get back to the growth. When you have only 231 permits come in to your city, and the city to the south of you is taking over 200 a month, they're getting there's a huge impact. We're slower than Star, we're slower than Meridian, we're slower than Boise. It just looks like you guys are going crazy with growth here. I want to get back to the 4-story thing because you asked about that.
Okay, and
And that's
again,
it.
before we
Yeah,
jump onto that, you're saying, hey, look, Eagle actually isn't growing that fast.
absolutely not. Not
Okay.
yeah. So it's the projects that have some of them have been on the books for a while. Some of them asked for extensions. Some of them didn't have the funding come to the way they wanted it, and so their details of everything how it's coming, the projects are coming to fruition happens on timing and the economy. So they're right now they're turning dirt because they're finally in a position that they can do it. They There's a lot of properties that have been annexed. We've annexed in this year as well that they've had on the books. If you look at the history of the wants of some of these projects wanting to come in, a lot of them have had history to it. And I have a binder at home that I'm old fashioned with binders and hard copies and stuff. But I have all the projects and how they've been when they started with their history and when did it start turning dirt. And so I've got every project in a binder. But with that said, you cannot stop growth. They have the Local Land Use Planning Act that the state has that the property owner has the most rights. And so you're the farmer, you're the kid of the farmer actually, and you do no longer want to farm. You've watched your parents struggle for decades with row crops or cattle or whatever, raising you just being a farmer, and you don't want to go through that. A developer comes along and says, "Hey, Matt, I'm going to offer you X amount of dollars for your property." Anybody out there that says they would not take that money, I question their truthfulness because it's more dollars and it's quicker dollars than anything else. So what you see happening is a developer will purchase the land, they'll come to the city, and they'll ask for reannexation from ag to residential or commercial or whatever it is. So when the people see these projects coming up and they're just happening, it happenstance for a lot of them that we're building out, but we only have a few pockets of county parcels within our city limits left. And once that's built out, I guess you could say, because we cannot be a fee-driven budget, but we are that. We're a fee-driven economy where we rely on fees to get our income. And so once you don't have any more rooftops coming in, where's your money coming from? And
So,
so,
and again, you're emphasizing as opposed to like a tax revenue from like sales tax or something like
yeah,
that. Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
fee, again, one-time fees is a risk.
It is because you're based on how many rooftops you're bringing in. Like I just said, we estimated 350 and we took 231 in. So you have a deficit right there of what your anticipated revenue from the fees were coming in.
Right.
And so, but I want commercial, I want and all these things. But we got to remember, sales tax goes to the state, property tax we get back, but you get funding back from property tax, state tax, and liquor tax. That's the funding revenue that comes back to the city. We only get 8% on the 8% of your taxes come back to us. We have 10 taxing districts that all our funds go to. I think I've talked about this before, but people think that all of this stuff comes to the city and all this stuff goes out from the city. It doesn't. We all have these special districts and everything we work with, but
And I
yeah.
apologize. I did interrupt you when you were trying to address the
No,
4-story.
let's talk about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
downtown a little bit
Sure,
because I
sure,
think
sure.
that's imperative that we cover this because the comp plan is a guide and a tool that all communities use, and we've had ours. And I think 2017 was the last. We just did a revisit a couple of years back, and we're going to next year be looking to bring that up. It's not even codified with the county, by the way. I mean, it's still just a guide. It's not been blessed, if you will. But with the comp plan, you can't pick and choose. You can't decide we're gonna take this out and we're gonna focus on this because the comp plan says that, or we're gonna ignore this over here. And so my thing is for downtown, because I'm an advocate for the downtown. I want it to flourish. I want to have an association. I want it to be where the merchants are healthy, the mom and pop shops are healthy. They're the ones, and I told you this before. I've talked to every merchant down there that was open for the last 4 years. Excuse me, asking what are your needs and what are your wants. They want people. They need bodies walking downtown. The only way you're going to be able to do that on a long-term process is to bring those bodies in. Now, at first, because we're landlocked into this area in the downtown area, we do have townhomes and apartments coming in off of Plaza, the Molinari project, and that will help them a little bit. But we have a building, a 3-story building that's going in right now with a private entity and the ownership of the old restaurant and everything down there. They've partnered and they're building a new building, which will bring revenue, retail, living. They're going to put mixed use, so they'll have some, I think, condos on top and stuff. So they'll bring some more bodies in. So the merchants downtown are looking forward to those bodies to be all the time. I mean, to have some kind of movement in purchasing items and bringing their revenues up. So some sustainability for those people. And I'm in complete support of that kind of stuff. Now, another project on the west side of Eagle Road on State was a proposal for a 4-story building. The comp plan says in the mixed use, you can have 3 to 4 stories. Again, the merchants want bodies. So having new retail, having new vitality to downtown, and also having more opportunity for residential, the mixed part, we have to make a decision which way we're going. I do not want to have these poor mom and pop shops fold and go under, especially in an economic downturn or another pandemic or something. And because what we have seen when cities, downtowns get boarded up, what it brings blight, it brings fire issues, it brings insurance issues, it brings all kinds of things to the community that are not healthy for a community. And I don't want to see that. I want to see a vital downtown. I do. And I've been criticized by a number of people for voting for the 4 stories. But you got to look at how this thing was built too. The setbacks, they weren't just this monstrosity of, 40 feet. They have to do, their HVAC units, their heating and air conditioning and stuff. They have to put those on top of the roof. So you have to have those secured with some kind of blind around it so people don't see it. So that's height in itself. So hitting 50 something feet it could quickly happen with 10 feet of floor with 2 feet in between or whatever. Pretty soon you're up there. So it wasn't this monstrosity on the corner by any stretch. And that's what, people have opposing me have said that I'm just wanting to build these things. When I first moved here, and I think when you've seen it too, when you come into a downtown and you see dirt lots in your main 4 corners, that does not show confidence to the community. It doesn't show confidence to builders or people coming in. I didn't want to see that. They had an old gas station there. The Chevron station used to sit there, and that's finally gone. And so development is going to happen. I mean, whether we like it or not. I want the quaintness, but quaintness is subjective, just like art. It's subjective to the viewer. What is quaint? Define quaint for me, and maybe we'll have a better conversation with that. But you're not getting rid of the existing mom and pop shops down there. The old converted houses are not being leveled and torn out and putting high rises in by any stretch. Okay, the comp plan even says in commercial you can go up to 6 stories. We're never going to go to 6 stories. We don't want to go to 6 stories. But if you look at 4 stories, the hotel that's going in on Plaza over there, that's 4 stories. Pet IQ, 4 stories. I mean, there's other places in the downtown region that have 4 stories to it. So this opposition of, he wants to turn the downtown into some Boise or high rise. 1, that's not true. 2, it's never going to happen that way anyhow, because the people that own the property and they're bringing their designs to the city, they don't want that either. So, and I'm not the architect, I'm not the designer, and I'm not the funder. And so I'm just looking at it from as a city leader, what is out there that is comparable and we can accommodate not only revenue coming into the community, but sustainability for the merchants downtown. And listening to them and knowing what their needs are, that was the main catalyst for me why I voted for Four Stories.
Gotcha. Gotcha. One final question that I have, and then I want to make sure I open it up to you to talk about whatever you want. Okay. But one final question from me is, what are things that people can glean from your last 4 years here that you can point to and say, this is something I'm proud of, or this is something you can look to me to provide more of, or,
Mm-hmm.
that's the best resume anybody can bring. Look at what I have actually done. Look at what I'm doing, all of that.
Yeah.
What is that for you?
One, it's to be a good listener. You have to be able to listen to the community. You have to know what their expectations are. You have to know what their desires are and their wants, and be a good steward of that, first of all, and then their monies. We have not raised taxes. I mean, the last 4 years, we were the only city council and mayor that's the history of Eagle that's had to go through something like a COVID pandemic. How do we make through? How do we survive? We did. Well, because we didn't put out mandates. We voted for the count. Remember, the council does the votes unless it's a tie and the mayor comes into play. But the council voted for the Second Amendment city. The council voted to keep the mandates away from the city. We listened to the citizens. We voted, at least I voted on their behalf. So I'm most proud of listening to the community and voting their voice, voting in what their desires were, not what a developer's desires or my own personal desires were. So listening, it was the number one thing I was proud of. I do wish in hindsight that there was more opportunity to get this downtown association established. But when we lose the economic development department as a whole, there's no way. I don't have the expertise to do that. I will keep championing it. I'll keep going out there and advocating that we have that. So that was one of the things I would like to continue to have, that to see that through fruition and make sure that the downtown is thriving and doing firing on all cylinders, if you will. So and the other thing is making sure that I bring my expertise of public safety, because I'm still a fire commissioner as well. And so balancing what the community's needs as a whole, as for their whole safety of their community. I'm proud that I can balance, I wear both hats. And so, and people forget that, they think, and I'm also proud of the fact that I've been a good liaison to the agencies that I'm the liaison to. The Urban Renewal Agency. I was the senior center liaison. That year, I gleaned a lot of quality relationships, I think, with some of the people there, and I'm happy for that. And that's why one of the passions is to bring that, to see that healed again, if you will. I've also served on the VRT, Valley Regional Transportation. I've been in ACHD. It was during COVID, so I didn't really have an opportunity. That was Zoom meetings, and
Sure.
you don't get a good thing. But just being and out there and talking with the merchants and understanding what their needs are, I think I've been a good advocate for trying to bring solutions to the problems of the community. But I have not been one to get out there and make motions to bring XYZ in. I did try to, and that's a whole issue I didn't really want to get into, but I did try to get some grants for law enforcement into the city, and I was told we don't do grants. So that's a sore subject right now, and that will be we'll have to come up with that as time comes on here. But I'm just happy that I had the opportunity to serve the public with integrity and honesty, and to get a lot of slander back. That's really hard for me to swallow.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to open it up. Is there anything that you want to touch on? Because again, I know we had our initial conversation, and I wanted to give you a chance to touch up on anything or address the people. Again, I know there were big screaming chants for a debate.
Well,
but
let's get into the debate topic for because I
okay.
want to talk about it. I mean, I do. I think I've advocated this the whole entire time. This is an 11th hour request. Okay, I know there's a runoff. Okay, no kidding. I mean, I'm part of it. So yeah, right.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah. So, but in fairness to all four candidates, why did these people not reach out and ask for a debate with the four candidates that were running for the mayoral position? Why wait till there's a runoff? Why wait till the 11th hour and saying you have 3 weeks to go? You have plenty of time. What do you mean you have plenty of time? We're out campaigning. We're walking door to door. We're doing meet and greets every night. I mean, that's why my brain is mush, is because I've gone out and talked to so many people, and I'm tired. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm mentally and physically tired. So I need to get rejuvenated a little bit. The public, every time I talk to them, they rejuvenate me. I mean, so I get excited. It's like, okay, this is a purpose. I'm purpose driven right now. And so, but what I really don't like is people coming and saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. Nobody wins in a debate, by the way. And people, they don't want to talk about the realities of that. Nobody wins. What are we going to talk about? The current mayor, he's had 4 years, and he's given his presentation in the 4 years. I've been a council member the 4 years, and we've been out campaigning. So people know our information. They know what we're about. And if they don't, a debate is not, you're not going to get 37,000 people attending a debate. Okay. So for to have the whole entire community, that's why you have to put material out, put your campaign out there. That's why you get people to host meet and greets for you. You go into their houses, you get to speak with neighbors, you get to do all this. But we had the forum, and what's funny is we had the Chamber of Commerce, Eagle Chamber of Commerce, put on a great forum for us. We all did the same thing. 4 years ago, we did the same thing. So all of a sudden, this request for something out of the norm, and they've come from all angles. You know, we've had people. Why are you not debating? I'm being honest with you, Matt. What's to debate?
Well,
People should know by now where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
First off, I would have loved to host a debate between you guys. So like,
yeah.
I would have loved the opportunity, but
Yeah.
But again, thinking about that question, which is like, okay, what are the questions I would ask, Mayor Pierce and Councilman Pike?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I could ask you about Avamore. You guys disagree. I could ask
Right.
you about law enforcement.
Right.
You guys don't necessarily see eye to eye there. Like, I could ask you some questions, but at the end of the day, to me, when I found out, it's like, hey, look, Jason really wants to do a debate. Brad doesn't really want to do debate. It's like, okay, but it's like, well, what new stuff are we going to glean anyway? Like
That's my
if you
point.
don't, and again, I would have loved, it would have been great. Like I've set up the whole studio and have this big fanfare. But at the end of the day, when trying to bring the best quality information to the residents of Eagle for this election, it's kind of like, look, are you really missing out on a lot, Matt? From like, do you feel like you're going to get some piece of information, out of a debate that you couldn't get just talking to them individually?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, you're probably not, right? Which is again why I thought it would be prudent to reach out to both of you and say, hey, if you just want to do like a touch up, not in like a debate back and forth standpoint, but if you want to do a touch up. So again, like I would have loved to do a debate, but I understand why you don't want to do one.
Yeah, it's back to, I mean, we're doing it podcast at 7:00 on a Sunday night,
No,
right?
It's like
Yeah.
9:00 now.
Oh yeah, whatever time it is now. Yeah,
right.
but I mean, exactly. So, and we got to get up and hit it tomorrow as well. And voting starts tomorrow. So, the thing is, the people already voted. I mean, November 7th was the time to vote. Now, and I say again, Jason got the most percentage, but he didn't get 50+1. Okay, so we're in a runoff. Okay, so the thing is, I just don't see the value of getting up there and basically just arguing the 2 points that people already know about. I mean, if they don't know about it, they're probably not going to vote anyhow. If they're, we got to remember only 10,000 people voted, on November 7th. So that's a third of your population. So, and this time, if inclement weather hits us or whatever, there could be an opportunity on December 5th that not that many people get out to vote. That's why I think Jason should be encouraging them too to get out starting tomorrow. It's early voting at the library. And then December 5th, you'll be at your normal precincts.
Right.
And which is an important topic too, because I just found that out as well. So is there enough precincts going to be open to do this? And so far, the answer has been yes. But I'm not skirting it. I just don't feel that it's of value to do this whole presentation, get everybody set up, do all this stuff. Now, with your business and what you're doing with podcast, absolutely. If I was you, I'd be wanting to do the same thing.
Sure.
Okay, that's just part of it, and because that's your calling. This is you do this. You love doing this, obviously.
Yeah,
so
right.
you do so many of them. But I just don't think you're going to glean any new information after the vote of November 7th that ding, oh, all of a sudden, oh, okay, I didn't not know that. There's a potential that could happen. But with all the information that we're sending out to these people, and by the way, we have no legal, per state statute 676022, I think it is, that we are not allowed to get involved with PACs, political action committees. So
wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, PAC as a candidate, if a PAC gets money put together and they put out something pro or con to the other candidate, we are not allowed to be participants in any of that whatsoever. And quite frankly, we have no control of that to begin with.
Gotcha.
So you're able to let me give an example. You're able to put a PAC together, and you're able to take all the money from your neighborhood right here you live with and put a PAC, and you can go present that to a candidate in opposition or in favor of. And that's a political action committee. So a PAC. So just remember, so if there's PACs out there right now that are putting both sides are getting slammed with different things. Okay. But legally, with the state statute I just mentioned, 67-6022, is that requires that you stay away from, it's an entity of its own. You have no control over that. You have no control over that, nor do you even want to be involved with it because it's a statute. But the information that's getting out there, door knocking, meet and greets, podcasts, all the stuff, webinars or whatever going on that takes place, those are the best way to get information out to the voter, I think, because quite frankly, we had our forum, and I think we had maybe 100 people show up. I mean, so having put all that effort together for a debate, and it's to me that's water under the bridge already. Anyhow, some people have a different opinion on it, and I respect their opinion. But I'm standing firm that all four of those candidates had the same right to come and give their campaign speech in a debate. They did that with Boise. Why is Boise mayoral? I know it's a bigger city, but the principle is the same. Why did they invite all four of those candidates to forums? And then now all of a sudden, because some citizens out there want to force a debate, that I'm sorry, that opportunity was before November 7th, and I'm firm on that.
Gotcha. Well, again, like I said,
Yeah.
I hear where you're coming from, and I really want to try to get the questions I would have asked anyway in a debate out tonight, which I pretty effectively have done. Might be missing one or two, but again, is there anything else besides the debate that you want to address?
I'll check my notes because I'm not afraid to check my notes in front of the people. But we talked about the debate, right?
Indeed,
we talked about the PACs. We talked about we talked about nonpartisan race, and I've been a conservative Republican for 41 years. And I'm not afraid to show things, by the way, folks. I mean, people say, he can't talk without cue cards, or he can't talk without a script in front of him. I think I'm proving
we've been talking for a while now. You don't have a script.
There's no script on the back of the wall there. But I just want to make sure I've talked about my campaign being grassroots, Facebook, website, and the podcast. And I very much appreciate you getting Jason and I out there. And I've said this in public setting, and I'm going to say it again from my heart. I like Jason as a person. Okay, we just have different philosophies, and to have people get out there and make up stuff is really disheartening to me. And it's like, I'm trying to do a campaign based on the facts. I went out and acquired the facts. If they don't like them, I can't help that. Okay. Donations, we talked about that already. Talked about, my lack of Christian faith, my lack of now I have dementia. I mean, these smear and lies things, that's very disturbing to me. I'm not a liberal, I'm not a Democrat, but I do want every vote. Let's make sure that I emphasize that. Anybody that says they wouldn't want an election, would not want every vote, I don't think they're telling the truth. Just because somebody has a different party, all of a sudden we want every vote we can get. That's what campaigning's all about. So if you're going to say, are you going to tell me now that we're only going to represent a certain segment of the community, even though my principles are in that majority setting? I want to represent all citizens of Eagle. I've said that every single time. I don't care what color you are, what race you are, religion you are, where you come from, why you're here. If you're a citizen in Eagle, you have a voice. If you pay taxes in Eagle, you have a voice. You have every right to get the same quality of representation that any other party does. So that's where I'm at with that. And I will take every vote. I want every vote. I'm telling you right now on your podcast, I want every vote in the city of Eagle. Who wouldn't? I mean,
yeah, I saw something. I saw something today that somebody had criticized you because a Democrat had donated to your campaign, and and again, I don't remember what the name of the Democrat was or like how they were. I just remember the sentiment of the post. It's like he's obviously like this liberal. It's like, well, isn't the person that we all really want at the end of the day someone that both parties feel represented by? Like you want, and again, I don't know the details.
That's why it's nonpartisan.
But it's like, especially with a nonpartisan race, even a partisan race, even if this was like, hey, I'm the Republican, wouldn't it be great that, like, I think we've had in American history, we've had notable figures that galvanized and really, represented effectively both parties. And that's when the United States thrived the most. That's when people felt like there was hope and there was opportunity. And it's because people were like, okay, look, I have a relative of mine is very liberal. We get into arguments, discussions. Yeah. I don't argue like, but I like chatting with people. Yeah. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you do? Like, you're a business owner, you're fiscally responsible, like you believe in personal autonomy, like all these different things. We're like, why do you vote Democrat? And it was interesting because he's like, well, if there was his thing was like a real Republican, not like a hacky Republican. He's like, if there was a real Republican, I actually might. And that actually gave me hope because it's like, oh, you wouldn't get hung in the weeds. Like you would go with somebody that you felt had, the real values that you felt reflected. But my point is for you to say, look, I want to get votes from all sides. And, this is supposed to be nonpartisan. I think that's a really astute point that I don't hear a lot of people bringing up, which is bottom line is whoever becomes mayor is going to be representing the, 16% Democrats that live in Eagle. They'll be representing all of the unaffiliated. They'll be representing all of the
Constitutionalists, libertarians, everybody.
Every last one of them, right?
And you don't believe in those same party lines or you would be in that party.
Right.
All right. So, but here's one of the things too. I want to make sure that the people know this. I've said this to everybody I've talked to. There's a table that sits in the mayor's office right now. There are currently 2 chairs, but there are going to be 3 if I'm elected, because I want you to go in there and I want you to sit in the chair you feel most comfortable with. And that's the discussion that we're going to have. I want to hear it from you, why you believe a certain way, why you're opposing a certain thing, why you're advocating for a certain thing. You have the right to sit there and give your opinion. You have the right to get on the emails and give your opinion. Right now, I am, quite frankly, I want to make sure that the audience understands this too. I usually answer the phone. It drives my wife nuts. I answer the phone as soon as you call. I try to answer it right now because of the inundated thing we're doing with the campaign and who's calling, and we have to basically screen our calls right now. So there are things that are getting missed because we're so busy. I missed a couple of calls from some reporters I didn't even know until I went back and heard all my voicemails. I'm sorry, if I don't know the name it comes up, I'm just letting it go to voicemail. And then if I get busy and I'm out doing my campaigning and stuff, I'm a human being. I make mistakes. Okay, Matt, I'm not, I don't wear a cape. I don't have anything, supernatural abilities. All I know is I'm Brad Pike and I'm asking for your vote. That's it.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate the effort you're putting in for the people of Eagle. Good luck in a week and a half. And
It's less than a week and a half. Yeah, I
I
think we're
know
down to,
it's
we're
like,
getting close. 9 days, I think
mean,
now.
yeah, it's really
Yeah,
coming up.
yeah.
And again, I appreciate everybody who's running. It's not easy.
And I do too.
As I was telling you right before we went on air, it's like watching this whole thing from all sides. The people that put their necks out there and really advocated and argued for the things that they think will help Eagle the most, man, my hat goes off to them, because
Yeah,
it
it's
is
tough.
it's easy for me to do this. I just have to sit here and ask you questions
Yeah.
and be like, oh, well, that's very interesting. On to
Yeah.
the next question. But
Yeah.
you actually have to give answers and, answer to the people. So
Yeah.
thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you have done for Eagle, and good luck.
No, thanks for having me, Matt. This has been a nice visit.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Legacy Life Memories, the premier video autobiographical production company for you and your aging loved ones. Legacy Life Memories helps preserve memories of a lifetime in high-quality video that can be shared with every generation to come. Visit LegacyLifeMemories.com and find out how they can help your family today.